Hi, everybody. This is the Parent
Hey,
Advocate Network, and I'm glad you
hi,
guys
Kelly.
came tonight.
Can can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
fabulous.
Kelly, how are you? You're muted. I unmuted you. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
So I thought we might start our meeting tonight off with the Law of One prayer that we stand by and do all of our work with this in mind. And it's published on our main web page, the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. Oops. There we go. And then, so this is, we stand for peace, justice, and prosperity for all. There's another person joining us tonight. And we are here to help. Our ministry is derived from the Greek word diakoneo, meaning to serve in accordance with the law of one, God. The law of one. We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. And when one is helped, all are helped. And when one is healed, all are healed. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all that is, I ask that only that which is in the highest good of all concerned happen. And I give thanks that this is done. So be it, and so it is.
Amen.
Mhm.
So I want to welcome, we have a new attendee here tonight. I'm going to unmute you. The way that we run these meetings usually is that everybody can introduce themselves, and then we have usually a topic of which we are to discuss and discover. Tonight's topic is working on putting together groups, teams to help parents with disabilities because they are being unfairly and unreasonably targeted by DCF, DHS, CPS, whatever they want to call themselves in whatever state they're acting in. And most times us parents with disabilities are a little bit slower on the uptake and understanding what's going on. And by law, we're supposed to have advocates for us in this process, and that is not very often happening. And so now we are here as individuals with the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, the Parent Advocate Network, putting together these teams to assist parents with disabilities maintain their rights, regain their families, the whole bit. We'll help you through the process wherever you're at. And with that, I would like to yield the floor to our board member, Dale. Hold on, I got to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, well, it all starts with trust, okay? Because basically what has to happen is we have to have all the case as it took place with all the records, and then we give it to I'll seek out legal counsel, look at it where we are, and then see what we have to do from that point.
Dale,
Now,
could you tell us a little bit about yourself? This is introductions, and I'd like us all to
okay,
make sure.
well, I'm a retired mechanical contractor. I've had my life has been in buildings and building repairing. From doing the concrete work. I joined the concrete union when I was 17, and my dad was in the construction business in Alaska, and I later worked for the superintendent that was his colleague in the office in California. Then, over a period of years, working with all these different companies, I finally got my own contractor's license and formed a company with a partner. And shortly after after the company was formed, I had a stroke. And so I relinquished my rights in the company, and the company was very successful, but I wasn't able to perform up to, do what the partnership required. And what it was, the partnership was formed by my friend Mark Sarno, and he came to me after I got my license and said, "Dale, let's form a company." And I said, "Well, the thing of it is, I don't have any capital right now." And he says, "No problem." I said, "Well, Mark, uh, we all I need is $100,000 because I know you and I know myself, and if we can't make a success out of it with 100,000, we're not going to make a success out of it with 1,000,000. So and anytime you start a business, you don't want to overcapitalize it. You don't want to take any more than you need to get the thing started and producing, create any more debt than is required. So the company was really successful very fast, and right now my friend I said, okay, you financed the company, you paid for all the insurance, you did everything, and so you've got to have control because you're taking the risks. And so it was a 49-51% partnership, and I really hadn't done anything except pass the test and get the license. And I said, and Mark could have had the skills to do that at any time. So I just said, look, we're all geared up, you're ready to make money, and I just basically said, I can't come up with $49,000 to fulfill my half of the investment. So just in lieu of that, just operate the company for 5 years. And the way the contractor's law works, if your partner operates the company for 5 years and you're absent, he automatically becomes the qualifying partner. So and we're still good friends. He's my best buddy. And so that, and on my personal life, my life, I was mentored by my uncle who was an economist, and we were always we were always involved in trying to create a just economic structure, so people don't get. In fact, I'm reading a book right now. This is called by Naomi Prince, and it's how the bankers rigged the world. And so the problem is the international banks. They're the ones that start the wars. I went to an event a few weeks ago, and Naomi signed this book for me. I met her personally, and her life. So my life with my uncle kind of parallels. There's a signature right here. Kind of parallels. It says in solidarity, Naomi. Kind of parallels her life in the sense that my uncle worked when he was 15 selling social justice papers on the steps of the Catholic churches with Charles Coughlin. And Charles Coughlin was a Catholic priest in Detroit that had a radio program and was trying to get the control of the money back in the hands of Congress and the people. And what happened, he had millions of people listening to his radio program, and he was starting to get very powerful. And the banks assassinated his character and vilified him as a anti-Semite and Nazi sympathizer. And the Pope put him under house arrest for the remainder of his life.
Wow.
And then later with Dr. Fack at Sylvia Gazelle's school, Dr. Fack was he got his doctorate degree from Yale in 1891, and he was a professor there, and he taught mathematics and political economics from 1891 until 1935. And he translated Gazelle's books, and Gazelle was a neo-economist who was a natural economic order. And they had one province in Austria that the province got so wealthy because of circulating money and leasing land lease that the banks shut it down because it was starting to threaten their banking structure. So this thing is run by criminals. The whole world.
The government and all of the people in charge. You're talking,
Yeah,
right?
the people who control the money and the banks and the international bankers and the oligarchs.
Yeah.
So now they don't want to fight anymore. They just want to work together and manipulate things. And this thing that's going on with Trump and uh, and and so when it boils down to the street level, Kelly, it means that everybody's rights are in jeopardy. You know, not only have the handicapped rights, but they're operating like emperors. You know, by bypassing our rights, bypassing the Constitution, and what they're doing is illegal. And what's happening? Well, yeah,
1 minute.
okay. And so what's happening? My life is you know we're supposed to do what we can do at our arm's reach. So, in the process of me being involved in the intentional community movement and the vegan agenda, our thing is we have to help the helpless. And so, those people that are handicapped are in a position where they're getting steamrolled because they're not equipped to defend themselves. So, this is where we come in. And so that's my dedication is I've got to do something. I've got to help people. I'm not here for my own benefit. And this is the worthiest cause that I've found. Okay, there's a billion of them, but I've got some other irons in the fire, and I'm working with the progressive this network of spiritual progressives in Los Angeles. That's Dr. Rabbi Lerner, as he's an editor of Tikkun magazine, Tikkun. So they just formed a Los Angeles chapter, and I'm part of that. So I'm trying to get all these organizations kind of in one basket, so we have a force for good that really has some horsepower. And there is a pathway that I want to follow, but the first thing we have to come to an agreement to, Kelly, is that you're on board 150% with the understanding, with the understanding that we don't do anything unless I say, Kelly, this is exactly what I'm going to do if that's okay with you, because this is your case, this is your life, it's your child, right. and so you have to have the trust in us that and faith that we are going to do this in a
No, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. So.
Okay. So thank you, Dale. I know you have a lot of information to share. You've learned a lot and are very knowledgeable in many different subjects, and we appreciate the time and energy that you put into the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families.
My pleasure.
I have, I guess, a question that a hand was raised by Michelle, and I would like to give her an opportunity to introduce herself and ask her question if she has one. You have the floor, Michelle.
Oh, hello?
Hello.
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering how I could win in federal court having a low IQ and, I guess, mental illness.
Okay, yes, this is some of what we're going to be talking about tonight and in other episodes that as we're continuing along here. We want to support all of the parents with disabilities, and what we're doing with these meetings is starting to strategize and from wherever you are at in your case to help you with the forms, look at your case and help you to file the proper paperwork in order to get your children back. And this is what we want to help all parents with, but especially parents with disabilities, because they are so, I mean, it's a massive amount of people. And so Michelle, I'm glad that you have joined us tonight, and I would like you to, at this point, invite anyone who watches this video or comes to the meetings So at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, we have several different categories, and one of those categories is parents with disabilities. And there's a whole bunch of information on this page when you click the link for parents with disabilities. And there's the study by the National Council of Disabilities. You can click on that link. It's a link. It will take you to the study. And it found that most states have laws that allow discrimination of parents with disabilities. They have actual laws that discriminate parents with disabilities. The states which are violating your parental rights based on law created to discriminate against disabled parents presents a clear and convincing case of deprivation of rights under color of law. So this page here has been put together to enable parents to fight against discrimination by state employees. We all have rights and no one is above the law. So there is some other information here. The U.S. Code Title 18, Section 242, Deprivation of Rights Under Color of Law. This is part of your appeal. You can use this in your appeal. And so the Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of Section 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds of that official's lawful authority if the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. And it goes on to cite other information, laws, rules, and procedure here. And so you have a right to file a complaint and file a summons order for anybody who's violated your rights, discriminated against you as a person with disabilities. And so there's a lot of information here. There's a lot of information out on other sites. If you go to the Parent Advocacy Groups page, we have listed we have our parent intake form, so we can help direct parents to the proper advocates they need to win their case. We have also information about the different groups out there, as well as pages that have reference material on them. And there's a long list, so I invite you to check it out at www.coalition4, that's the number 4, protection.com. And then I'm going to stop the share. All right, awesome. So Kelly, you have been here working with us as a member of the Parent Advocate Network and the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families for quite some time, and you've also been fighting for the rights to your son. And so, and we have been working with you, looking to get some material from you, as well as your permission to be able to proceed with, like Dale said, the steps that we're working on. So
we have been we've been trying to look through. Okay, we haven't sent you guys yet, but we've been looking through the papers, but we're trying to get all of them together so we can like send them to you guys. And what? Oh yeah, both of us have been sick lately too. So but I'm feeling better. I think she's feeling a little bit better too. And she's working on getting your those the disability links to you. Lyra. So
Okay, that is wonderful because the more information we have that supports parents with disabilities and their rights to be parents and to have access to reasonable accommodations,
right.
including, not discluding, but including uh, parent aid in the household, including special education courses for learning to be a parent without being stigmatized. A lot of
Right.
parents with disabilities are being stigmatized and classified because it's easier.
Mhm.
And there's more money just to sell our children off than
What?
to spend money helping us as parents with disabilities become better parents.
What are you?
There's one on the disabilities that I was out here reading, and I don't know where it is now.
What did? What were you looking for? The one that paper.
Wow, it sounds like you guys are getting to it. Good, the hustle's on. Awesome. That's what we want to hear.
I think it was over there. So. What isn't what you had it yesterday over there. Yeah, I don't know where it
I
went.
know it's overwhelming, you guys. I know you got a pile of paperwork, and it's just a absolute
Right.
nightmare.
Isn't it right?
Is there a chance that we can bring Michelle into the conversation, because
Yeah.
this is the person that you mentioned that was successfully had children returned to her by the court system.
I don't think it's that Michelle. It's not Michelle
Oh,
Chen, right?
okay.
Michelle, would you like to tell us a little more about your situation? Hello.
I don't know.
Hello? Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Michelle.
Hi. Yeah. Yeah, what happened was that the father of my daughter messed up, okay? He was on drugs and he was with a female, and they took off with my daughter to Lake Tahoe, California, and he had custody of her. I just had unsupervised visits at the time, and he got in trouble. They both went to jail for drugs and alcohol, and he went to jail for neglect. We were in a case plan for 2 years, and I did the case plan. He did the case plan. He was, even at the time, he was on paper, and the family court let him walk while he was on drugs. And me, I took, another IQ, a test for another IQ test, which lowered me to 63. I already had one at 75. And, and so, they took my unsupervised visits because he passed a psych eval. And this is the only thing that's wrong with me. I didn't do anything illegal. He did. He has domestic violence on his record, a lot. Not just saying one accidental thing, a lot. And yet he's got her back. And the CPS told us both that we could not have anybody in our life, and this is why they deny me my own supervisor. I have to be supervised by him right now, and he's my abuser. And my mom is just sitting there like, you have to overturn this, and I'm like, I don't know how to overturn that. I just made a filed complaint on discrimination, and that, as far as I've gotten, as well as report CPS workers. I mean, I've had this lady, uh, just kind of stalk me in a way. She was threatening me after I lost my son in court because of my low IQ in 75, because I left an abusive relationship. He got it adopted. And after that, it was just such a fight with my daughter. Um, I couldn't even be with my daughter myself unless I had him. And then the abuse just went on from that. And the thing was, before that, they put me in a group home, which they threw me under the bus, for my son, that was. and that was all put against me because I made that wrong decision on my son, and because my rights were terminated with him because of my low IQ, and even with the father having his rights terminated on his other children in California, they let him walk. And and also now, because of the case is closed, my attorney said to go back to district court and ask for my unsupervised visit back. The judge says I needed a note from CPS. I asked them, they're not going to give me a note, and they're giving all kinds of excuses. And this is what's happening. The people that dropped off on the case plan or we're supposed to be checking on her, so they haven't been checking on her, and he's putting her back in danger around these dangerous exits. And I'm not doing anything. I'm just following what the eval says to go to therapy, which therapy is put against me. And I mean, there's no way to win. And the thing is, if he does anything wrong, gets in trouble again, she's not going to come to me. I have a place to live. I have a supportive family that supports me right now. So, but she's not going to come to me. She's going to go back into foster care because of this low IQ thing, and because my rights were terminated because of the low IQ thing. I've been having issues with the social worker threatening me, and because she was a supervisor, I believe that she was making sure that I didn't get my daughter. And um, so I have, discrimination all over on that. Um, so I mean, I'm doing the next right thing. I've been doing the next right thing. I've never alienated her from him. I've, I've done everything I could. I've been out there for after my son was taken. Um, I don't know what to do anymore. They keep telling me that I'm gonna lose, blah blah, all kinds of stuff. They threaten me, and I'm I haven't. There's nothing I'm doing illegal, and I don't know what to do from this point anymore. I keep going around in circles, going to these different things that I've been on, but it hasn't really helped me. I just filed the discrimination not too long ago, and so nobody's gotten back to me on it, and I reported the workers, and then the other places said that this will be told, but that's as far as it's gotten. There's nothing. That's Nobody's contacted me, nothing. um you know uh right now I'm living in a house, has a beautiful backyard, and so I don't know what their issue is with this.
You sound very
um
literate, Michelle. I don't know why anybody would say you have a low IQ. And just for the record, just because a parent has a low IQ, that does not mean that they are incapable of taking care of their children. And that is just disgusting how you have been treated. I am
yeah,
so sorry for you.
I have great parenting skills, they say. And actually, I've taken parenting classes. I've actually been a nurse, because my other kids were preemies. So I've actually been like a nuke nurse, and so it's not that I can't take care of my kids. On that on those, but this is a different case altogether. I think it's just because I have the test anxiety, and then plus because I'm going to therapy, she's going to claim I have something else, and so that all that stuff and all the poor decisions that they threw me under the bus came back to me on that. And plus, when I lost my son and he got adopted, all these things now just are causing me not to have my daughter in my life. And I mean, like, I just don't know what to do anymore because, you know, this is where, what can I do? I love my daughter very much. Um, you know, I mean,
Did any of the officials commit fraud, lie in their
yeah,
reports?
yes, they did. They they said that at the particular time that I was had my daughter unsupervised, that I didn't feed her. I did. She's a very picky eater. I do have a witness, but um, besides that, you know, I had great parenting skills, and I was having overnights. You know, like I said, he had messed up, and see, I did the next right thing. I went to fight this in court to because for an emergency custody issue because I had the unsupervised visits, but it was too late. She got taken into CPS in Lake Tahoe because of the lady, they had a fight, his girlfriend, and she took her to the strangers camp, and the strangers called CPS, and they took her into. They didn't call me. They took her into CPS, and later, you know, acquaintance that knew me told me that they were in jail, and so that's how I got to have visitation with her. And during those 2 years, I did during the case I did have one unsupervised visits, but then after, like I said, after the test, they took it away, and I just don't understand this. They're both of them, the father and CPS, is denying me my own supervisor, and here he is, um, going around these dangerous exes that he's not supposed to, and so I'm, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just at a standstill right now. Um, you know, the discrimination, they're not getting back to me on nothing. Um, so I've just been, right now, I've been made feel uncomfortable because the one ex is over there with my daughter now.
Right.
And so I really haven't had a visitation with her right at this point. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm just at a standstill what to do. I love my daughter, so
Amen. We all love our children and they should be with us, the parents and grandparents. And I want to bring up an issue that I've been seeing for just one moment here. Kelly, you and your mother are both fighting for your son to come back to your family. There are
Right.
parents and grandparents that are on opposite sides of custody battles, and it is so sad to see this when
Right.
what we're supposed to be here is for the love of the children. You know, what we're
Right.
doing is, you know, for the future generations, and they
Right.
need a whole family, even if that family doesn't get along with each other, that they're
Right.
still all involved in that child's life is the
Right.
most important thing in the world. And so I just wanted to put that out there for anybody who thinks that I'm trying to separate or divide. We're not here to divide. We're here to unite and to help parents, grandparents, fathers, mothers, everybody to find some type of resolution that's going to be in the best interests of the child.
I understand.
And I understand, Michelle, that you are having difficulty communicating with your ex-husband, and that is a problem I also experience. So, you know, I can only come from a place of love in my heart for my children and say they deserve to have time with their father. They deserve to have time with me. And I never denied, even when they were supervised visits and stuff, I didn't deny the father contact with his children. So this is about our children, and we're here to help parents and families heal.
You know,
Yes.
the perception I'm getting about this is we're at the same place that the handicapped community was 30 or 40 years ago, when everybody in the construction world had to adjust to the fact that the buildings have to be accessible. Okay, and so now what we got another structure that we've got to build, that parental rights in the disabled community are real and have to be protected. Period.
Period.
Which they aren't now. So these abuses. So we have to construct something that doesn't exist.
Yes.
And we got to do it the same way.
The act does.
And we got to do it the same way that they made buildings accessible. We've got to make parental rights primary when it comes to the issue of the children, and that the courts and the child services have to deal with the disabled parent. Period.
Period.
Okay, that you are a part of that negotiation. Nothing happens to that child without your approval. And if there's a glitch in there, where there's a behavior situation, that doesn't mean, okay, we'll just take your child away from you. That means that there's a process that has to be going through, and you have to say you need some help with some child raising issues and anger management to get you to understand that if your behavior is out of whack, then it's up to you to bring it into under your emotions under control. Have the emotional intelligence, develop the emotional intelligence to make decisions based on reason instead of emotion and feeling. It's just a process that you go.
But it's hard.
Yeah, I know.
But it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to do sometimes, especially when you're a parent.
I know, Kelly, but that's what's required of all of us.
I know.
In a civilized society that's a rule of law. Now that doesn't mean because you break a law that you get your kid taken away from you.
Okay.
Okay. There's such a thing as forgiveness and restoration and resurrection and all these things that we're human beings. We all make mistakes, and we have to have a pathway, just like your child. We're human. We make mistakes, and we have to overcome them. And so now we have a societal responsibility to protect each other's constitutional rights and do what we have to do, just like they have to make buildings accessible to handicapped people.
Right.
We have to have a legal structure that guarantees protection of parental rights in the disabled community. And
okay, there is one.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
There is a protection of parental rights within the disability, and that's the ADA's laws.
That's
And
the
if you
ADA
can-
laws, but they aren't representatives that are coming to aid these parents with disabilities in family court, in juvenile court.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. They do that.
The article I sent you is
Excuse me?
specifically
Hello?
written
Yeah.
the article I sent you is specifically written to the children's protective services, and it tells exactly what they are and aren't supposed to do, down to the way they treat people, to what they expect for evidence. And I don't know. I firmly believe that there is a right if we just use it, and if we just,
I understand what you're saying, Marge. And a lot of parents with disabilities have asked in court for, and I myself am one of them, for a disability rights advocate in the courtroom, and I was denied it. And the reason I was denied it is because they said they don't have people qualified to represent or assist parents with disabilities in juvenile court, in the family court system. That's
and
what
they know that. And why do they take your children? Because they can.
because they can.
Okay, and there's no enforcement
But they're not
arm.
supposed to.
They're
They
not
can, but
supposed
they
to.
follow.
You're right.
They're not supposed
But
to.
the directives-
But they're not following the law. They're not
Right.
following our constitution.
They're criminals.
We have a constitution
and
law.
I think if that's if that is a problem that has been had about not getting some advice, then I think you need to go back to the actual people, the ADA themselves, and talk to them and ask why. Why did they
Yes.
not give you one? And was there a possibility that they could start making advocates? Because just to get the answer no and to take that as it doesn't work, I think is a mistake. I think that you need to, if you want to make something work, then you advocate
make
for
it
what you
happen.
want.
You make it happen.
Absolutely. And so this is what I suggest parents do. And I did this myself and was rebuked. So don't be surprised if that
Don't.
happens to you.
I know, but you're not
I,
supposed.
I
Okay.
You let her
Okay.
finish.
I have called the Department of Justice in my state.
You
I
keep
have
on
called the ADA in my state. I have called the Disability Rights Advocacy Program, which every state has. And I have asked for assistance saying that I was discriminated because I'm disabled, and that's what CPS used as a reason to keep my children away from me. And every one of them told me that they did not have the resources or the people educated and qualified to assist me in this matter.
You know, the problem is the law's in place to protect your parental rights, but there isn't an enforcement agency in there hitting the judge with censuring the judge and getting the people that disobeyed the law that protects your rights, the prosecutors, the judges. These people are disobeying the law and there's no penalty.
Because they do it behind closed doors, and people who you want as a parent to come in and advocate for you, they can only come in if the CPS officials, DHS officials says it's okay, and the judge says it's okay. They're
And
just
is it what happened with the buildings and the access to structures? The laws were on the book, but the contractors weren't building the buildings with the access. So what they did, the buildings that were built and didn't follow the law, uh, they got hit in the rear end with massive fines, okay, and forced them, okay, to make it wheelchair accessible and all this stuff. So we have to get in and create an enforcement arm that acts on your behalf, and it's clear, and the penalty should be clear and severe for anybody taking your child away from you without due process, and they have to prove that you're unable to do that to take care of your children, and they can't. And right now they're just getting away with criminal activity, and they're making money out of it. You know, they're putting your kids into foster homes and processing them through adoption. So this is we've got to build one legal structure in one place, and then we can add to that. But we got to start someplace. So you're right. You guys were right before us, and that we collectively said, well, let's work on Kelly's and Marge's case, and so that's the long and the short of it. We want to make changes, and we want to give those law teeth, so that they think that they don't even risk saying, well, has she been at trial? Has it been proven that she's not capable? And the judge says, well, she keeps your kid until somebody proves in court, okay, with before a jury, and you can have subpoena witnesses and doctors and professionals that say she's more than capable of taking care of her kids.
They did that, and
I
the,
am capable
and the
of
judge
taking
just
care of my son.
walked away from it. He pretended it didn't exist.
So
Well,
Michelle
they
has
do that
risen her hand, and I would like to respectfully give her a chance to chime in on this. Yes, Michelle.
Yes, I wrote the American Disability Act, and they wrote back to me saying they couldn't help me, and maybe I wrote the wrong place. And I'm like, I don't think so. But I asked my dad to see if he could help me, but um, and that's what happened. I went in person to the officials here, like the governor and stuff, face to face. And I said, would you please help me with this? And they just straight up said, no, we're not going to help you. And I wrote President Trump and I said, are you going to help with this situation? And then they wrote back to me, of course, and they said, we cannot help you. So I'm just getting like no, no, no all the time here right now in this. So like I said, I've been out there quite a while, asking, hey, can I have some help? Can I have someone help me with this, to fight this? My dad was saying something that there were attorneys out there that do fight. I don't know about pro bono, but they do fight for disability people that have a low IQ of 63. And since mine dropped, I don't know if you know anything about this, but I
There
wonder.
are attorneys out there who represent parents in family cases. The trouble is that a majority of those lawyers want a retainer of $5,000, which they go through very quickly because their fees are so astronomical, that most parents end up losing their houses and still end up losing their appeal case with an attorney that's supposed to be fighting for their rights. Now, there is a few in California. Sean McMillan is a very prominent lawyer who's fighting for the parental rights here in California. He is not really addressing the issue of parents with disabilities being discriminated and stereotyped. He's more looking at the 4th and 14th Amendment right violations and using those as a basis for I believe it's a class action suit. I know that there are a few attorneys out there that are doing this, but they're far and few between. And again, you end up putting your trust in the hands of an attorney. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, excuse me.
Cool.
So I would look and learn as much as you can. And I don't know if you have filed a request for administrative review with your state Supreme Court, but that is one of the steps that gets you closer to getting your children back. Another step is to file criminal charges against those officials, and that's what I was showing you a moment ago, who have committed fraud, who have committed crimes against you. And where, oops, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Is it that one? No. Okay. It is there. So there is
Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. It's
a letter I wrote to President Trump as well, and I have not heard back from him. And this was the letter that I wrote. And this is a form letter that you can get at the coalitionforprotection.com. And it can be a mother or a father. I know that it has the mother's name there, but there are complaints. You can list misappropriation of state funds, state workers listed, misappropriation of state resources being the courts.
That's a letter that she wrote to President Trump.
And denial of mandated and recommended services. Find out what services you were denied or not even offered, because like in my case, there were many things that were supposed to be offered before they removed my children from my care, and they did not provide those reasonable accommodations for a parent with disabilities. They didn't even want to recognize me as a parent with disabilities in the beginning. And so those are two of several things you can do. You can also file a complaint with the Judicial Review Board against a judge if the judge has committed fraud or has denied you the ability to submit evidence and information on your behalf to support your ability to take care of your children. And really the law that CPS is supposed to follow is that a child should only be removed from the household if there is a clear and imminent danger to that child when an officer or an employee of CPS comes to your door. That's the only reason that your child should have been removed from your care. Imminent danger, meaning death. That's it. And so, you know, we're working to take all of the steps needed to get our children back. And if you don't take certain steps, like going to the state Supreme Court before you go to the federal Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court will very likely kick your case out, saying you haven't gone through the proper process. I filed a complaint, a damages claim with my county. The next thing I need to do is file a damages claim with the state board of directors. So that was to the county board of directors. Now I need to go to the state board of directors and make sure that, you know, when you're writing about your particular case, that you specify specific violations of your rights and cite the law that they violated, they are in violation of. And do it for each incident on its own page, not just a list, but we're talking, okay, the CPS worker lied. She said that my ex-husband was hurting me. Well, no, that wasn't true. My ex-husband was hurting his new wife. I was nowhere in the vicinity when this incident occurred. My son was, though, and he was then in somebody else's house with an old lady who couldn't even walk for 2.5 days because the Department of Children and Family Services could not find him. Where was I? I was over 50 miles, 150 miles away. You know, so those are the kinds of things you got to go through your whole paperwork. Do you have the court reports, Michelle?
Yeah.
Okay, have you been able to read through them?
Yes.
Have you been able to identify where your civil rights were violated?
Yes, just alone on the like I said, the social worker, the threats that they made, and this, like I said, I was being denied services on a wraparound,
Mm-hmm.
um, and in a group home. And then when I was thrown under the bus, you know, I had to go quietly in a psych hospital, or else they would have made it worse for me. And then plus they were telling me because I was going, because I have high risk pregnancy, and the doctor told me saying that I needed to be bedridden on Demerol because any movement would start labor. And I was at this point, I was going to specialists, and they were trying to get me to have the baby in the home. And the thing was, I said, no, I'm having the baby in the hospital. And I left the group home um, because of that. And I knew that the father would be getting rights. And so I had to work out a deal with him so I could go to the hospital. But in that process, you know, I was trying to get my son back, and then the abuse took place again, and then everything just, you know, to, like I said, then they took him when I was supposed to get him back, um uh you know, saying that I left an abusive relationship, um all sorts of things. And then, like I said, he was adopted, and so then I've been having these issues with my daughter now. And we were never married because I am of my low IQ. I mean, it's not that I can't work, and I have. It's just that right now, because of some health issues, I rely on state income right now. But it's not like I can't take care of my daughter. It's not like I can't, because I walk, I could drive. I have a driver's license. So I have taken care of her. I've taken care of my other kids. Like I said, I was a nurse. I was a new nurse for my kids. But this is just kind of interesting. This, but I haven't really went to the Supreme Court, and you said that would be another thing I can go to, and I guess I could go to do that.
There is another, because we are parents with disabilities, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights has provided this form for parents with disabilities to file if they have suffered from psychiatric abuse and misdiagnosis and abuse. And this is against specifically officials or employees of CPS and other cases. So you can look at this particular document. It's through the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. It's located at www.cc.org/take-action-report-psychiatric-abuse.html. And I will also be uploading that link to the website, coalitionforprotection.com, for parents to easily access.
What's considered psychiatric abuse?
Well, if we look on this particular form here we go again. Information the person's reporting the abuse. Have you received electric shock? Types of abuse occurred. Check as many as apply. Received electroshock, psychiatric drugs, involuntarily committed. That sounds like you, Michelle. Sex assault, seclusion, whistleblower, patient died, restrained, custody case, no informed consent, insurance fraud, misdiagnosed, child drugging, elderly abuse, denied patient's rights, court ordered to receive psychiatric treatment, child protective services, physical abuse, no medical exam, coercion, and other, I think. And then you can put a summary of the abuse that occurred, which would include the name of the abuser. And this is judicial abuse, and is rampant in our country.
Okay, and in my case, they said that, which is Kelly's case, to me, they said CPS stated that I could not take care of Kelly or help her with Michael for more than 5 minutes because I had been in a mental health hospital 2 different times and I needed assistive care for several months. That's one thing they did, and they constantly said that I was, actually the Children's Mercy Hospital stated, one of the doctors there stated that I was learning challenged, educational challenged, and that I couldn't understand what their directions were. I don't know if that's considered, what that's considered.
Well, you sound pretty literate to me, Marge. I don't see you having a lack of understanding here. My goodness. What were they thinking? This is terrible.
They're thinking they're out to get Kelly.
Right?
The one thing that stuck out on that list was misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
See you got railroaded, and they created this. They took all the facts and came to the wrong conclusions.
Well, that's the judge. The judge himself invented that Kelly had. That's the very first statement, that Kelly was mentally ill, and that it was incurable within a reasonable amount of time, and that she therefore couldn't take care of Michael. That was supposedly diagnosed by a psychiatrist, no, psychologist, and a neuropsychologist, who neither one of them saw her for more than 4 hours at the most, plus the fact that they did not give her any accommodations for her disability. And uh, I don't know, even in the report, the psychologist was commenting on how slow Kelly was, that she had to be helped. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? That might be a problem, and it might be that you could observe whether or not that has anything to do with the disability. But no, that was held against her. And then she stutters, but she doesn't stutter. Which I don't know what's wrong with stuttering anyway, but that was a sign to them that she couldn't take care of Michael. That I don't know.
And what it looks like to me, what's reasonable is for somebody to observe in a 24-hour period how you take care of the child.
Right.
And it's reasonable. It's reasonable if it does a reasonable job and the child is not at risk or in danger. Then this is the kind of evidence that needs to be compiled. And I would get have a situation where you are videotaped in your home being a babysitter.
Or at a local, when we were talking last time, have you looked into any child care or other kinds of businesses or groups that are looking for volunteers?
Not right now. Not lately.
She's been finally. She has been she's been being sick off and on with different things, and it kind of debilitates her being able to do anything else. Having a lot of
emotional breakdowns too, so it's not.
See, what we have to do is compile evidence to the contrary, that you are capable of taking care of children.
I know.
Okay, the other thing.
Your own. So if we don't have anything to go with them, that in fact demonstrating that you're more than capable of taking care of children. You're more than capable of taking care of your own children, and whatever.
I can take care of her too. I've been taking care of her too.
Well, they said the judge.
I'm helping to take care of you.
But they also at the very last of the court hearing, the guardian ad litem said to the judge, she can't even take care of herself, let alone take care of Michael. And that means. So I don't know how she got dressed that day or anything, but I thought that was a very cruel, uncalled for statement.
I was all dressed up. I had my hair up and everything, and looked nice and everything too. So.
Well, you look nice now,
you
Kelly.
Look nice now. You look quite presentable.
Somebody's brushing those teeth and combing that hair and washing that face. Right? So
I do.
So I think you can take care of yourself. But I'm sure that you have a little one in there that they're going to be taken care of just as well.
Right.
I've never once looked at you and said, "Gee, she needs some help."
No.
I say, you know what I see when I see you? I say, Kelly, can you help me out here a little bit? That's what I see.
You're looking pretty good tonight, and I'm glad to see you're in good spirits. Michelle wanted to say something, so I'm going to give her the floor. Michelle?
When I was in court for my son, I said that, I was a nurse, and I said, this is a job. I'm taking care of my child. And I said, I had gotten all A's on my, when I was becoming in a convalescent hospital and so more. And I was going to become a CNA. And then they replied and they said, well, if you get a job anywhere in daycare, anywhere in a hospital, we will take that job away. And they said they can. And I'm like, isn't that against the law? And they said, oh no, in front of the court, in front of in front of the judge. And they said, oh, we can do that. And I'm like, wow. I mean, just because I have a low IQ, I mean, I'm obviously taking care of people, have taken care of people, have taken care of kids. Uh, yeah, I should have been videotaped, but you know, it just didn't happen at that particular time in my life. But
Well,
this is what they.
there's still time. You can continue forward. This is what I mean. I haven't seen my children in 2.5 years. Okay, so I've been fighting this fight without being able to comfort my children. They're all three of them are in different counties. They don't see each other, and all I can do at this point is keep moving forward, find out what the next step is, and go towards the goal. The end goal is that, you know, the federal government has the executive law in mind, and not administrative law, and not this de facto court system that is the family courts. You know, they're the ones that really have the final say, and we just have to take those steps that they require in order to get into that federal court. Yes, Kelly.
I was gonna say, is Trump going to sign the that
Executive law.
the executive law?
The proposed executive order that Don Rufty and Pamela Olson and others, including myself, have been
Right.
talking about, it is unclear at this point in time whether
Right.
or not President Trump will actually sign it, but at least, at the very least, he will receive a whole bunch of signatures on this executive order saying, or this request for executive order saying that we have a corrupt judicial system and it needs to be rebalanced, and we need to go back and support citizens' rights, not corporate rights.
I thought,
Okay.
okay, I
I
was
thought you were
wondering
saying-
what happened to, maybe I misunderstood. I was understanding that he asked it to be written.
No, it
No?
was a confidant, a
Oh,
close confidant of his that asked Dawn to
okay,
create
okay,
this executive order request.
okay.
Okay, and
But I thought that was. To me, I thought
Trump.
Trump was gonna sign that.
not yet. So there are several things I want to share before we go much further here, because we are on a time schedule. We'd like to keep it at about 2 hours, because that's about as much as I can provide at this point in time. And one of the things that I wanted to share is that there have been amendments to the Manual of Courts and of the United States, and President Trump did sign this. And so this is another important document to read through, because it says a lot of things, but the maximum punishment for an offense committed before the date of this order shall not exceed the maximum punishment in effect at the time of the commission of such offense. But, you know, okay, and then let's see. Nothing in Annex 1 shall be construed to invalidate any non-judicial punishment, proceedings, restraint, investigation, referral of charges, trial in which arraignment occurred, or other action begun prior to the date of this order, and any such non-judicial punishment, proceeding, restraint, investigation, referral of charges, trial in which arraignment occurred, or other action shall proceed in the same manner and with the same effect as the amendments in Annex 1 had not been, if the amendments in Annex 1 had not been prescribed. So, it's just reaffirming that there are laws that all courts need to follow, and that, we have our rights to get redress for our pain and our trauma that we have received in these abusive systems. There is also another document that has been shared by Brian Van Aken. This is a motion to vacate order. Above captioned case in their entirety, fraud upon the court. For fraud upon the court, lack of subject matter in personam jurisdiction, where venue is improper pursuant to FRCP Rule 11. And this is somewhat of a format you can take. And all of these cases where parents are having their parental rights taken and their children removed, when a agency says, you cannot have your child back, and we're removing your child because you abused that child, even though we don't have any evidence of the abuse and it really didn't happen, that doesn't matter. Well, this is saying that you have a right to say, this does not belong in this court, because they're charging me with a criminal act, the criminal act of neglect and abuse, the criminal act of whatever might they be putting out there as a reason to remove your children. And that is not the right court. Family court is not for criminal cases.
That's
Okay.
a criminal act, is what you just said, because that's what the judge wrote about Kelly, that she was neglectful and that she was abusive, that she didn't take care of Michael like she should.
But I wasn't abused.
I know.
Right, and you weren't given the opportunity to have a trial by jury,
Right.
and you were accused of a crime. It is a crime to commit abuse and neglect. Therefore,
Right.
you had every right, and still do, to ask for it to be put in the right court.
Okay.
Okay, that motion to vacate specifically helps you. You read it, so
Right.
I sent it to you guys. I sent the link,
Yeah, I saw it too.
and
There was another one I got that said the same thing, but he added a bunch of what do you call them when you give the case that it was decided under?
right,
He added
case
a bunch
law.
of those in it.
Case law, yeah, and
He added a bunch of case law in it.
and that's what we need to do is make sure that when we present these motions and these appeals and all of these requests and stuff, that we are citing law and how it's been violated.
Okay, I was wondering on that, if when in educating people on how to legally take care of situations, I was wondering if maybe it could be brought out that when they find the law that they want to use, that they find the citations of the law that have been used. I don't think some people understand what that means, to have those citations, because I worked for my brother who was an attorney, and I know it's a backup plan. And I remember seeing him go to the books and look up the case law and what it said and how it affected his case that he was working on. But I'm wondering how many people really know what those little inputs are all about.
Well, and they are also supposed to read the entire case, not just cite a part of the case.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, I don't think that people know to use a case law to support their accusation. I mean, so it's down in black and white that this has already been decided in another case, and most of the cases were cited were Supreme Court cases, are Supreme Court of, well, I guess that's Supreme Court of California, District 9 or something like that.
And the federal Supreme Court
Right.
as
But I
well.
mean, I just doubt that people understand that that's what that information is about. I mean, you don't use, you have to go to it and read it to compare to your case, but I don't think they realize that it's a backup for what you're saying happened as being illegal.
Right. So this is about supportive evidence in favor of our claims.
Right, right.
So this supportive evidence, this is again going back to each violation that was incurred needs to be highlighted, state what the injury was, and then state what your testimony is, your case. This is part of a tort claim. And then the case law that supports your claim, your statements.
Right. But I was just, all I was asking was that somehow or another we present the way that that's supposed to be handled. And what it
Yes.
means, because I doubt some people know exactly what that means.
Yes, I
I don't.
agree.
But
And
I feel like that we need to help them be able to read the legality of what they're using.
yes. Yes, I agree. And one of the things we do at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families is we find those gems that are out there, that information that explains this, and then we provide a step-by-step process. That's what we're working on here. Is we're working this case, Kelly's case, and in the process of working Kelly's case, we're starting to go step by step in this process, and by doing that we are showing others how to do this. Okay, and I think that's going to be a lot more helpful than it just being written down for a lot of parents, because as a parent with disabilities myself, and I take a class online. It's human resource management, and when I go to the quiz exam, I have to read each quiz question 4 times so that I can properly process what they're asking me in order to give the appropriate response. And so, you know, that is considered a learning disability, I guess, you know, but or a processing issue, but it can be accomplished. And so here we are working through this process bit by bit to help you, to help me, and to help other parents with disabilities, and in the greater scheme of things, to help all parents. And bring in that information from those resources like Brian Van Aken and Don Rufty and Pamela Olson and Ted Fogg and you know, there's John Gentry and all kinds of advocates out there that are providing information. But now we got to take that information that's being provided and say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, you know, in an order.
That's name Melody Michelle. Okay, it's Michelle. Michelle is.
Yeah, Michelle.
Is Michelle? Okay, I would like to know, because I used to I took classes on learning disability, but I would like to know who gave her IQ test and under what situation was it given, because in listening to her, I don't see that she has that low of an IQ.
Yes, me neither, right?
She wouldn't be able to understand all this. Plus,
Right.
if it's certain things, if it's a certain type of person that has a trouble in reading, there is an oral psychological test that does not challenge the reading that you can take.
Well, unfortunately, we lost Michelle.
Okay.
So hopefully she will be able to watch this program later when it is uploaded to our YouTube channel. And, you know, we'll keep in contact, I'm sure.
How many people did you have signed up for tonight?
Tonight I had 23 that were interested.
Okay, how do you know whether they came or not, or whether they
They would
participated?
be coming in on the list of participants here.
Okay,
calling
okay.
in. And what I do, and I need some help with this, Kelly, because we want to expand our reach here.
Right.
Okay. What we need to do is I have the announcement, the meeting announcement on the coalition page in Facebook that can be easily shared directly to all these groups. And word of mouth is the best tool we can use to bring people together in this fight against this judicial corruption.
I sent a lot of invitations out. So I
Thank
just
you. And I appreciate that. And, you know, and then when I publish the videos of our meetings online, I usually publish them on the coalition page so that people can share the meeting with their groups and just talk about it, you know, start the conversation there, because a lot of people are afraid to come on to a program. They're afraid to be able to express themselves. And this goes back to how CPS targets people who are not as socially adept,
right.
you know, and have fears and stuff, and then so they feed on those fears, and those fears are then built up inside that parent saying, I am a failure, you know,
Right.
I can't do
That's
anything right.
predatory.
Yeah.
They're preying on the handicapped population.
Yeah. And the disadvantaged, you know, financially disadvantaged, all of these people. And, you know, it's a matter of being able to encourage people to come out of the woodwork
Right.
and actually come together, not just to talk about law, but to actually find a pathway and provide that pathway to everybody.
Is it, okay, am I missing it? But I don't think I saw that it was, maybe I missed it, but I don't think I saw where it said anything about being the resource center that it is. Is it, I miss it?
What? I'm not
Well,
sure.
when you tell about what the group is about,
Okay.
I was wondering if we've mentioned the resource center that it is.
No, I guess I haven't been so up on that recently. I actually spent time earlier today providing a job search for therapists and counselors to help with crisis management.
Okay.
And I'm going to show that right now. And this is for parents who don't know what to do, are lost. And it's hard when your life basically is ripped out away from you and taken and put into a stranger's hands. I mean, when your child is ripped away from you, that's part of your life that's being ripped away from you. And so what I have done, and I asked Scott to make sure that it was okay to publish this. So now we have a job listing for crisis therapists. This is a full-time / part-time job, and we are looking for volunteers to assist parents in crisis. Many parents are being denied their fundamental rights, and children are being ripped from good homes, only to end up in foster adoptive care. Board member and licensed psychologist Scott Taubold is looking for a competent team to assist our clients through the emotional upheaval. Applicants must be willing to have training to help with victims of domestic violence, traumatic experience, and/or substance abuse recovery. To learn more about our programs and goals, visit our website, www.coalition4protection.com.
Okay. When a
Hey,
person
yeah,
responds,
let's give a hand to Scott. Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't able to attend tonight because he had another conflicting meeting. He does a lot of work with parents trying to bring the children back. He's very experienced in this field, and we're very lucky to have him on board with us.
Okay, I saw two names that answered to reply to that.
Yeah, oh, yes.
But I mean, what do I do when I see that? Because I really didn't know about anything about the background information.
Okay, well, so this is what I have, and I will share it with you separately. There is, I don't have it up right now, but I will give you a link to it. We have a volunteer / candidate evaluation form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you don't have to ask all the questions. There's a lot of questions in there. This is being used for the Family Rights Party, and it can also be used for the coalition because they have such similar, goals here. And we want to know if the therapists are or have ever been involved in CPS cases, whether or not they know somebody who's been involved with CPS cases, whether or not they know someone who's been a victim of domestic violence or have been a victim themselves. And I'm going to be doing another job announcement. We are also seeking paralegals to aid that have experience in CPS cases in family court to volunteer a little bit of their time to assist parents with filling out forms, filling out the 388, for example, and filling out appeal forms, whatever they need help with. And it does require some legal knowledge. Absolutely. And so we're looking for legal aids and paralegals, and we're also looking for volunteers to assist with setting up the website a little bit more to enhance the key steps that parents can take. And also, like you said in one of your posts, the meeting announcement should be bolder and more apparent on the website, and I agree with that. And so we're working on that and just looking for some outside assistance. PR, we need somebody for PR development and just outreach.
Yeah.
And
There's one thing that I saw that on this one website that I really liked was and I don't know how much time it takes, but what they did was under each category, they had a listing of all the articles that they had. So then when you send it, because I sent them several out, and they listed the articles, so instead of going through and picking out, I could send a copy of what they had, and people could pick out what they met their needs. And I was wondering, I didn't know how much time it took, but I just thought that would be kind of nice to have done.
yes,
And then
that would be.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of work that can be done on the website to make it more efficient and easier to find out where your particular case fits, and that's just that just takes computer skills, and we're in the process of trying to find those people that have the skills to do it.
We're building up our teams here. Yes.
Yeah. The other thing is, I was wondering because I had trouble finding, and maybe I didn't do it right, but I had trouble finding my state. And the reason why is all I saw was the flag. Is that correct?
If you're on the coalition Facebook page and you go to photos, that is where the state is. Yes.
Okay, but I was wondering if
there's a link
state could be put up above it, because I wasn't too sure of Missouri State what it looked like, so I had a little trouble finding it. But and then I saw someplace else where when they had something like that, they put the name of the state above the flag so that you could identify quickly where you wanted to go. I mean, it's just an
I'm
option.
sure I can figure that one out. Yeah.
But I mean, if it's something I can do, but I don't know
Oh
how to
yeah.
do it.
Well, so what I would suggest you do is when you click on on a flag, it has an like those three dots
Right,
on the upper right corner,
right,
and you click on those three dots, and then it has an option: edit, delete, remove.
okay,
So you want to edit it,
okay,
and then you should be able to edit the picture and put a title there.
okay, okay. I just, and it was somebody else that had written that they couldn't find their state. And one person said, I think it was one of the people that I've seen a lot on the pages, but he said that he couldn't find Pennsylvania. And then the other thing is somebody tonight asked, okay, she couldn't if she couldn't watch this program, could she put a link to it? Because they lived in New York and it would be 10 o'clock before they were able to watch it. And I knew you could, but I wasn't sure how, so I just said yes.
So you can go on our Facebook page. There's videos that I share, and it's YouTube videos. And so I publish them after they've been uploaded, because first they have to download to my computer, and then I upload them to YouTube.
Right.
And so I do that, and then I post a link
Okay.
on the coalition site. Now it took me a little bit of time to get some of the meetings up, but
Right.
I should, because of my internet connection, it doesn't always upload right, and it's just
Right.
frustrating at times. But I have been trying to keep up with all of our meetings and posting them.
Right.
And so last week's meeting and tonight's meeting, I will be posting by the very latest Monday. I should
Okay.
be able to have them posted up tomorrow, though.
Okay. And and sorry for asking so many questions, but what are you supposed to do? Okay, what are your options to let somebody know you appreciate them liking the page?
Now, there's a good question. I would say that in that
Didn't have really much to go
situation,
on because it just says messages and then it says ban. And I'm thinking, well, I don't like using messages too much because I, for one, don't always look at all my messages.
right?
So I just felt like, well, there must be a way to let them know. And then one thing I did notice is that you can recognize people that have posted to let them know that you saw the post by there's this on some of them you have a place where it says friends, it says the name and then friends, and then sometimes it says the name and then mention, and then when you mention the name, when you press mention, it gives you can either leave a little note or it just records their name under your name.
So it would probably be adding their names to the post if they like a post.
Well, it was just like if, for instance, if somebody saw a post and then they noticed or even if somebody saw your post and they liked it, then and you saw somebody else that made a comment on your post, then on both of them it would show up if they were a friend, show up that it says mention. And then when it says mention, you can either send them a little picture or you can just, if you just are in a hurry, you can just click their name and it puts their name under your name. So it's a way of saying thank you.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a good place to start. And I don't know, maybe
See, some of these things I don't know how to do or I do them, but
there should be. I know that when people leave messages on this page that we have an automated response set up for those messages. But it's like they go through the page and then they like it and then they want to send a message. And not everybody who likes it is going to want to send a message.
Right.
So I'm open to suggestions.
Right.
Well, as I said, I would try more things, but I really don't know. There's still a lot I don't know about using the computer, so I don't know how to. I don't know how to section a page either, to put things like some people have down the side of their page. They have, for instance, the different categories, and then you click on those, and it sends you to articles about that. And then it has resources, and it sends you to the resources. And then it lists the names of the resources on the side. And I didn't know how you did that.
So when you go on the page there on Facebook, hold on, let me get there. There are a couple of things you can do. When you go, so like when I showed you the jobs announcement, the way I was able to create that is I went here and clicked on jobs, and so then it opened this, and at the top here is this green button that says publish job post, and you click on that and it'll come up with our logo, and then you can write whatever title. Like I wrote crisis therapist looking for, and that's the title and description, and then whether or not it's a paying job or full-time.
Right.
So I do believe that when you look here, you can look at like events, for example. We can tie events here. Right now we have the Parent Advocate Network meeting tied to this because we post it, you know, we announce it. And then there's the community, which is listing the different groups tied to this page, and we can add more. Let's see. Well, there's a lot of people that have been posting here, sharing information to assist in the community. And then we have reviews, and we have photos and groups. And then you were talking about resources. So I'm going to go back here.
474 total likes, and then there was a 400. There was like on that side there was like a 489 follows, something like that.
Yes, 489 follows. We have 474 people that like this, and there are more that like it, or less that like it than follow. We have related pages here that we can add more pages to. There's also suggest edits if you want to do that. You know, there's a lot of different parts to a page. There's a lot of different, I mean, you know, there's the publishing tools here, the videos, video library, expiring.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Wow.
Yeah, there's, like I say, the job applications, branded content, events, and Canvas, and all of this is, yeah, they have a lot of tools and resources that we can actually use, and there's settings.
I'll have to go there and look and see.
There's all kinds of stuff, and you are an admin manager on the page, so have at it, Marge. Just let me know when you're about to change something, just so we can have the conversation.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
totally
Before you change it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because as I said, there's some things that I didn't know what to do with, so I just left it alone.
She told me the other day, like, or I think it was like yesterday that you said there was like a lot of people that wanted to be on your page, and it's like, which is on the coalition page. Yeah. I've seen the wow. That's great.
Oh yeah, I mean, and again, this is about encouraging people to come out, because this is
This is
not
nationwide,
this
right?
this is totally worldwide, honestly.
Okay.
But I mean, we're starting with just this nation right now. It's just,
Right.
Yeah.
we don't need to, become
Just
too
need to get our
erratic in
country
our
settled.
behavior. Yeah,
Right.
we want to have some kind of okay, so we have our short-term goals here. The short-term goal here is to help you, Kelly, and me, and Michelle, to go through in our different stages to get the right paperwork together, the right process and
Right.
procedure, and we share the information as we're learning it, so that we can provide this information to other parents with disabilities. That's the 6-month goal, okay?
Okay.
So 6 months from now, what we hope to have is we hope that you have your son back and that I'm on the way to getting my children back.
I hope
Right.
so too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
gonna
Me
be 5
too.
That's a good goal.
I mean,
He'll
let's,
be 5 on August 3rd. It's like,
And I'm
about 3
getting
more
worried
months.
about, I don't want him to forget us.
No.
well,
I don't think he will.
you have a bond with your son that can never be severed. That is the mother's bond, and it cannot ever be severed. And they have actually produced a whole bunch of psychological articles stating exactly that. And so he will never forget you.
Well, I think I read where it said
Right.
the DNA of, I don't know, it said a boy, but I don't know if a girl, I'm sure a girl does too, but it said a boy leaves the DNA in the brain of the mother, his DNA in the brain of the mother.
Mhm.
What does
And
that
I
mean?
thought, well, that's,
That's right.
it was talking how, because basically I was kind of worried because the attorney at the last said, well, that he's not going to remember Kelly, that he's just going to, he knows the parents and he likes them, and his
That's not
feeling
true.
toward them is stronger than it is with Kelly.
That's not true.
And I thought,
That's not
you
true.
son of a gun, how could you be so cruel?
Yes, this is cruel and unusual punishment.
But that's not
Definitely,
true.
No,
it
it's
is
not true.
cruel
Because
and unusual punishment what these people are doing to us parents, and it needs to stop. And we're doing what we can to spread the information, provide options and resources to help stop this runaway train.
Yes.
Right.
And
Well, I appreciate what you're doing, and I know sometimes we may disagree, but
Yeah. You're
I
right.
still know that you both have put a lot of work into this, and it isn't easy. So I just wanted to let you know that my feelings about that.
thank you, Marge, and it's
see.
wonderful.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you both here, and we're here for what we have in common.
Right.
Right.
What we have in common is a love for our
Absolutely.
children and the belief that truth and justice will prevail.
Right.
Well, it's also, to me, it's also the importance of putting the family where it belongs in the sacred viewpoint, so that it's not something you tear apart without justification, and very serious justification.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be only serious. That's just it. They're going against their own CPS manual,
I
from
know.
the Department of Human and Health Services in DC, the Federal Department of Human and Health Services, which states that a child should not be removed from the household unless there is clear and imminent danger to the child on the point when that observer comes to see the child.
Right.
Right.
Not any other point.
It has to be a
Right there.
preponderance of evidence.
And it has to be a preponderance of evidence, absolutely.
That imminent danger, and there's something to support that. Not just a sheriff that walks in and has an opinion that he pulls out of his rear end.
That's hearsay, or no, it isn't hearsay. I'm sorry. I forget what the term is called. I apologize.
It's okay.
That's okay.
You remember everything. You're special, really special.
I'm trying to remember it all. There's so much information though that I don't know, and you know,
Hey, we are not perfect. So.
we're human. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Well, there's one thing I
We're
wanted
human
to
and we're not
say.
perfect.
There's this article that I did want you to look at, and I sent it to you. It's on from the National Council on Disability, and it starts out. I don't know why they titled it. It's chapter 5 from. I keep forgetting. Oh, from Rocking the Cradle, Ensuring the Rights of Parents with Disabilities and Their Children. The chapter 5 basically is all about disability and how TPS discriminates against disability in the various areas. It breaks down in parts what happens and how they're discriminating. It also points out what should be done as far as the treatment of people with disabilities. And it just explains very well how the whole system targets people with disabilities. And I really would appreciate you could take time to read it and give it some thought, because I think that it's this here.
Okay, I will. Absolutely.
But the thing of it is, it helps people understand what's happening and what threats.
Yeah, and I just
people-
wrote it on the side of
Yeah.
the group chat too. It's a
Yeah.
National Council on
Does it
Disabilities,
Okay.
does
too.
it put out a weekly newsletter or monthly newsletter on the internet?
National Council on Disability?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I just
That would be awesome.
I'd have, this has publications. This was for 2012, but the Rocking the Cradle has about 10, probably maybe 15 or 20 different chapters and various sections. And then the other website that I don't know if you noticed that I found was the one that sounds like it belongs to puppies. I don't know why they named it that, but
Pound puppy, yeah.
Oh yeah, Pound Puppy.
Pound Puppy, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a fascinating site of all the articles, and it's very supportive of human rights, of what's happening, and has all kind of articles that I don't know how I found it, because I sure wouldn't have found it by the name.
Okay, while we're on this subject, that's the National Council on Disabilities.
Right.
Okay.
Here, I'm
And
going to
I'm
share.
going to find out if we can get a link to get our weekly subscription sent to us.
The chapter that's starting out by it's the Rocking the Cradle, and then it has the Rocking the Cradle. If you press that, and then I just put in Rocking the Cradle, and then it's on disabilities, and then the page comes up.
Wait, there's a website on it. I think.
Okay, yeah.
Rocking the Cradle, Ensuring the Rights of Parents
Right
with
there?
Disabilities and Their Children.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was.
Okay, the website is https://
I got it.
Huh?
You got
I
it?
got it.
Okay.
Good.
Right here. This is where it is.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
this
yeah.
is another
Yeah, that's
resource that we will provide on the website, so it's easier for parents to access.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, I published something that went against Facebook's code of ethics. I published it was on this website of the Pound Puppy, and it showed a picture of a child in a room that was totally gray with nothing else in the room, and he was sitting in the corner. He didn't have any clothes on, but he had his knees up, and I think he was leaning forward and kind of his head down.
Yeah,
So you couldn't see anything, but they told me that they told me that was against their nudity.
Oh, wow. Yeah, meanwhile, Meanwhile, everybody, I get these posts from these sites, and they're basically porn sites, you know, and for all intents and purposes, they're completely naked and real
Yeah.
Oh my
suggestive
God, yeah.
poses, you know.
I've had people post things on my site that were to me they were not.
Obscene.
No, but I told Facebook, oh, well, that really doesn't cover our code. And I'm
Right.
thinking, you mean this child in the corner? It's,
Yeah.
I thought, why are you after me? Leave me alone.
Right.
Well, and this is how the media works, and so there's some, having all the facts and drawing the wrong conclusions. All of a sudden, you're on a list of pedophile list, Marge, because you're spreading all
Well,
this.
that's why I'm concerned because I think, okay, you accuse me of that, and and they don't really give you any way to protect yourself or
No.
defend yourself.
Right.
Well, you could with the minute that I get something like that on my web page that's even questionable or could be roughly interpreted as not above board, I just unfriend them and say whatever is
Right.
going on there,
Right.
and so and Facebook's pretty good about that. They start policing your site. If they can
Oh, I know that.
they can intercept stuff, and they're really in trouble now as a result of this last election to make sure that we haven't got robots disseminating a lot of misinformation and misleading people. So it's getting better. It's not as bad as it was.
But I guess what bothers me is that I notice they keep sending me notes about doing this to your web page or paying a bonus, and I'm thinking I don't quite understand why I have to pay a bonus
You
to get things published. I mean, to send things different places, but then it'll say, well, did you think about this is happening, and I felt like, why do you keep track of everything I do? Why don't you just leave me
Because Marge, they're in the business of making money, and if they can sell you a $1,000 widget, and then next week say, listen, that widget's obsolete, you need a $2,500 widget, and you get on the treadmill, you're just spitting out $100 bills buying a lot of their products, and it's a marketing machine.
It's
You know?
it's
Well,
part of the
they-
consumer model that we've lived in for a very long time, and it is
I'll tell you what happened
not
to me.
stable. It's
What
not
happened
stable.
to me? I just had an event. I just innocently went on a web page, okay, researching a specific subject, right? And then
right.
all of a sudden, I'm getting 100 phone calls a day, because there was somebody that's trying to sell me something, and the specific site that I went on to get a little piece of information, all that was being recorded, and
Right.
I had schools that would say, "Well, we saw that you were interested in an education," and there were 100 diploma mills
Wow.
wanting to enroll me in their school. So, and they were all excited,
Oh.
there's 300 million people in this, and probably 25 or 30 million are trying to figure out how to make a buck on the internet, and
Right.
and I get advertisements. Learn money on the internet. Well, you're one of those characters that's calling people, has a phone list and calling people up to get them signed, and you get a percentage of the tuition or whatever they sell. So it's a self-perpetuating monster.
Well, you're supposed to fill out. You get so much money if you fill out the survey, and the survey asks all kinds of things to just put you in contact with medical people,
Oh yeah.
insurance companies, and I thought I'm not going to do this. And then they asked you personal questions like, do you have diabetes and all that? And I thought
Yeah.
it's really none of your business.
Well, it's good you were able to discern that.
But
Um,
I don't know. I mean, you were talking about that picture, but the picture went with an article that I thought was important to read, but I couldn't publish it because they wouldn't let the don't ask me, and it kind of explains it if they read.
right. But they're not
Well,
there to read. They're there to it's an algorithm and they're trying to change it now, but the algorithm has certain things that it takes into consideration when looking at information that's being shared.
Right,
And then it will put it, just classify it based on a picture or based on the first paragraph and
right.
not look at the whole article. I've gotten a few of those myself.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Google used to be very, very clean and simple and quick, and now it's gotten very busy. And the minute you click on a subject, it's starting to react as a marketing machine, just like Facebook. And
Huh,
you get bombarded with a lot of windows and suggestions, and they're and I'd say, listen, if I need any information from you guys, I'll let you know. Just
yeah.
let me check, do my stuff, and
If
it's
I ask
intrusive.
for something, I'll
Yeah,
ask you. Don't tell
yeah,
me.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
like I can't think for myself. I say, oh boy, that's what I need. So I start chasing that goose. You know, and so so you just got to use some judgment, and and
Right.
you know, and I don't. What I've found out is I'm afraid I wasn't say, well, this is going to be create Trojans and this ransomware and all this stuff. And I said, I know I'm going to go ahead and do this and check out what I need to know, and just put up with all the traffic. It's like a freeway.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, I am so glad that we were able to talk tonight, and I appreciate all the information sharing. And I'm very grateful to have people working on this with me, with you, Kelly, and we will persevere in this and help lots of other parents with disabilities in the
Right.
process.
Was she the first one you had with disabilities? Was
No, Veronica was, and
Veronica?
Veronica has gotten her children back, and I know that she's been trying to get in contact with you, Kelly, to give you some information. So if you want, you could probably drop her a line and ask her
Okay.
about that again, just to make
Okay.
sure to.
Have you got her email address?
We got to do follow up.
No, I don't. I don't have her email address.
Do you have it,
Um,
Lyra?
I do
Oh,
not right now off the top of my head,
but I
but
do. But I am friends with her on Facebook though.
right, and
I can
so
send her a message on there.
yeah.
Okay.
by the way,
This is
before I forget, there is a lady that I don't know if you know her, Jen Call.
Yeah, Jen Call.
Okay, but anyway, she lives in Indiana,
Yeah,
Fort Wayne.
Yeah, Fort Wayne.
But
Indiana.
anyway, she was living in an apartment and they're tearing down the apartment, so she was moved out. When she moved out, I don't know what happened, but she lost most of her furniture. She
her
was
stuff.
going to stay with this one guy, but he gave her problems. So now she doesn't have a place to live.
Right now, she's
And I didn't know the best way
living
to,
in her car right now. But I don't know what.
I didn't know the best place that could get her help, or and I didn't know how public she said anything about it. But I just feel like somehow or another, in some way, we need to reach out to her.
So, what I would suggest you do if she's in your area is to help her by looking for the homeless shelters in the area where she's at.
She's in New
First,
York. I can go
Fort
online.
Wayne, Indiana.
I can go online in Fort Wayne because I did that about a lady down in Florida.
So that's where I would start, and I apologize for cutting this
Okay.
short
You
here.
want to
But,
go to bed?
well, my battery actually is about to die. It wasn't plugged in. I had to move to another room to do this meeting tonight, so I
Oh,
forgot to bring my cord. But
wow.
I wanted to thank you for
Thank you.
coming and
Thank you, guys.
caring, and
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
let's keep on moving forward. You're working on getting your material together, and
Right.
we'll
Right.
start these engines rolling again.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
And
Great.
anybody who's watching this, please feel free to join us. We meet every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and you can join us by visiting the coalitionforprotection.com website or our Facebook page, the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, and follow the event announcement link there.
Okay.
Lyra, what I was going to ask is,
Thank you. Bye.
tomorrow at 6:30?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow is the family rights meeting for
And
people in California at 6:30 p.m.
that link you sent me on Messenger works perfect. I've got it finally figured out. So,
Well, and the family rights party is on a different channel, so I will be sending you that link separately, okay?
Okay. Well,
Okay.
listen, Marge and Kelly, you've got my email and my email address, and you got my phone number.
Right.
If there's any reason, at all that you want me to help you in any way, please call. Okay.
Okay. All right, we will.
Okay,
We will.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Thank you
Good
all.
night.
Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow, Lyra.
Good
See you
night.
tomorrow. Good night. Good night
Good
to all of
night.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.